hello, welcome back to my channel and welcome to round 7 of Tbropoly. We've been doing this for 7 months now. If you've been following my channel for any amount of time, you know that in July there was going to be some big news coming. Basically, my brother was going to be having his child. Child came early, which means that I have all of July and I don't need to worry about like my month being broken up with an infant coming into my life. That's exciting, that's good news, which means that I'm really excited to get into the board and start doing the rolls. Last month we talked briefly about how my 22 and 2022 cards, the blue ones, are running out, and that how that is happening because I've read a lot of them. Some of them haven't been published yet still, and a lot of them I have lost interest in and I've taken them out of the rotation. So I asked for your all help to see like what I should replace them with. I got a lot of really good feedback. So I think what I'm going to be doing, I'm not out yet. I still have 2 cards as of right now. Once I actually run out of those last 2 cards and there aren't like pre-orders that have come in that I can add to those cards, I am going to put secret TBR books in the pile, and that's what I'm just going to pull because that'd be great and really helpful to get those read. The final new thing I want to talk to you all about, and I'll talk more in depth about this at the end of the video, so stick around if you want to know more about this beautiful jar, is my big book jar. So I am going to officially be starting a big book week where 1 week a month. I'm not sure if I'm going to do it every month, but at least this month I'm definitely going to be doing it. I did it last month. I might do it every other month. So during that week, I will only be reading books that are chunkers, and I'm going to be focusing on reading big books that I've been wanting to read but I've been pushing off because they're so big and they don't fit into my TBR and I'm nervous. Last month I had to read 6 books, and as of right now I have officially read 6 of those books. I did DNF 2 of them and I'm currently in the middle of one of them, but I'm over halfway and June hasn't finished yet, so I have no problem thinking that I'm going to be able to finish it. So without further ado, let's go to the board. Here's the board, and roll number 1 is a 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 is odd, so the card says TBR before 2021. So when I originally made these cards, it was back in my first game, which was TBR Bingo, if you guys have been around long enough for that. So I made these cards at the very end of 2020, which at the time I had plenty of books on my physical TBR that were from before 2021. Now, I no longer have any books from before 2021. In fact, I only have a handful of books from 2021 and I am working my way through them, but this is before 2021. So I went to Goodreads and I organized my want to read shelf in order of year, and I organized it by when I put them on there. And I scrolled up to 2020 because there were plenty from before that. I think I've had my Goodreads since like 2013, something like that. It's been a long time. Wow, it's almost 10 years. So I organized it by that, and I found a book that was on the list that I, of course, have interest in. There are a lot of books on there I don't have interest in, but I found one that I have interest in, and that I put it on that shelf in 2020, September 24th, to be exact. So the book is A Queen in Hiding. The description on Goodreads is a little bit hard to understand. There's like not much description at all, but I am like such in the mood for fantasy right now. So like that's a lot of what I want to be putting on my TBR this month. And the description says, orphaned, exiled, and hunted, Cerelia, Princess of Wirrendale, must master the magic that is her birthright, become a ruthless guerrilla fighter, and transform into the queen she is destined to be. But to do it, she must win the favor of the spirits who play in the mortal affairs, assemble an unlikely group of rebels, and wrest the throne from a corrupt aristocracy whose rot has spread throughout her kingdom. Just like small bits of that description remind me of Queen of the Tearling, which is one of my favorite books of all time, top 10 for sure. I really need to reread that one. It reminds me of that, and so I hope that I'm getting something that is very similar to that. But beyond it, I love the idea of what this description has to say about this book. Roll number 2. 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Book club. For roll number 2, this worked out really well because my book club took off last month from reading with each other. So this month we will be reading Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, and I have probably one of the weirdest editions I've ever seen of this book. I found it used online and it's in such great condition, but it's a box set. This is all one book, but it's divided up into 3 books. I'll be working my way through that this month. Really excited about it. I'm also really curious to see why it's broken up into the ways that it is, because are there going to be complete arcs in each of these? Are they going to be more like short stories that build to a whole story? I don't know. Pretty much everyone else in my book club has the normal edition that everyone is used to seeing online. I'm really excited to figure this out and figure out why like these books are like this. I don't want to take them out because it's really hard to get them back in, and it's going to be hard once I read them and they're like bent to really get them back in. So that's not going to be fun. But this box is gorgeous and I kind of want to have it as like the books. I haven't decided if I want to put it out like this or this on my shelf, but we'll see. So this is a historical fantasy magical realism book about 2 men, Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell. And if I'm remembering correctly, Jonathan Strange is a wizard and he is living in like the height of 1800s London, doing like his best life. And Mr. Norrell comes into realizing that he has magic, and I believe that it's going to be about the 2 of them training with each other and then also becoming enemies. I'm not totally sure how accurate that is, but it's magic, it's historical fiction, and along with this book, I am also this month going to be reading Susanna Clark's other book, Piranesi, which I don't have currently with me. I will be getting my hands on it and reading it, and my book club is doing that as like an optional thing since both of the books are by the same author and they're like her only 2 books, and Piranesi is really short. If I can get Piranesi onto my TBR, I will talk more about it, but if not, that's another book I will be reading this month. Roll number 3 is a 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and that was even. So I have green cover. For green on the cover, I'm going to be going with the book Hell Followed With Us. So the green is more of like a pale blue green, but I would definitely call the green color on this cover green. I wouldn't call it blue, even though it is like quite pale. This is a new book. I believe it came out last month and I have been really excited to read it. So I actually found out that my hold will be coming in July, so that's when I'll be reading it, and I'm really excited I can fit it onto this TBR. So we are following a main character named Benji, and he has been controlled by this cult for a long time, and they have put some type of crazy doomsday weapon, bioweapon inside of him. And so he escapes from them and joins up with a team of ragtag outcast characters who help him, I believe, try to figure out more about the weapon, more about himself, more about what's going on, and how to stop these people from doing the bad things that they are doing. I do know that our main character is trans and that the group that he teams up with has a lot of LGBTQ plus representation. I don't know exactly what all representation will be in there. The book on Goodreads is described as a horror, fantasy, dystopian, and those are 3 genres I love dearly. Roll number 4 is a 4. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Arc. For Arc, I have plenty of arcs that are coming out before the one that I decided to pick, but the publisher reached out to me specifically and suggested that this would be a book that I would like and that they would give me an e-copy if I agreed. And when I read the description, I got so excited, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about this book. They emailed me sometime in June, so I'm just gonna read it. It's pretty short too, so I won't have a problem getting through it this month. And I literally can't stop thinking about this book. So the title is Where Darkness Blooms. From the description, it sounds to me like it's going to be similar to Wake the Bones and Bone Gap, which are 2 YA horror, magical realism, weird books that I rated really highly, and I'm so excited to reread at some point in my life. But Where Darkness Blooms is about this city where they are well known for 2 things: windstorms and endless fields of wildflowers. And of course, the city is also known for missing women. Women go missing all the time and no one seems to care. Until one day, I believe we're following all 4, but there are 4 daughters of this woman. The mother goes missing and all 4 daughters have to figure out what happened to her, and they all react in very different ways. It's about 300 pages. I'm really excited to see. I've like fallen in love with YA horror that focuses around like rot and nature and storms and missing women. So I think this one is going going to be absolutely perfect for me, and I'm like so excited to pick it up. I want to say a huge thank you to Wednesday Books for reaching out to me and suggesting that I check out their book, because absolutely it sounds so good. Roll number 5. Ooh, roll number 5 is a 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 is even. Gray cover. For gray on the cover, I decided instead of going with another book that I own, I wanted to go with a library book this time. So I scrolled through my library, and I have tons of books saved as like wish list books that I want to one day check out. And I was scrolling through and I came across one that looks like it's going to be high epic fantasy, which, like I said, is something I'm really in the mood for. They had the audiobook. It was going to be available very shortly to me. So I checked it out and I'm excited to try this one. It has been on my TBR for a long time, so that's great. I'm getting another one off of my TBR that I haven't been able to read in the last few years. And this, of course, is The Black Tongue Thief. I don't totally understand the plot that is described on Goodreads. There's definitely a lot that's going on. I will try to do my best. I believe that we are following an assassin whose name is Kinch-na Shanok, and he owns a takers guild. So he teaches people how to basically become thieves. But he has a lot of debt, and because of that debt he takes on these miscellaneous jobs, and one job leads him to the middle of the forest where he is supposed to kill someone, the wrong someone. He comes across a woman named Galva, who is a knight and a handmaiden to the queen, and she is searching for her queen, who has been missing for a little bit and is trying to figure out what's going on. Kinch, of course, is unsuccessful in his robbery assassination of Galva, and because of his failed attempt, he finds himself stuck with her, trying to figure out what she is trying to figure out about the queen and trying to solve all of the things that are going on in the mysteries of this land. All of that sounds absolutely fantastic to me. I am so ready to just like digest a really good fantasy right now, and this one has such amazing reviews on Goodreads, so I hope it works for me as well as it's been working for a lot of people on there. And roll number 6, possibly the last roll, is 2. And it's a double, so it's not the last roll. 1, 2. It is 22 in 2022. I only have 2 cards left. I am gonna wait before I finish these up to restock them. So I know what these 2 are, but I don't know which one is which. Left or right, I guess. We'll go with right. And it is The Counselor. So we did get a 22 in 2022. This is one of the last 2 that are on this list, and this book is The Counselor, which I've had my eye on for a while, and I'm really excited to be picking up soon. So this, I've heard, is a slow political epic fantasy, and I've heard from a lot of people that it is queer, it has good representation, and a lot of people have loved this book. I basically haven't heard any negative reviews about this book, not to say that they're not out there, but from anyone that I've heard reading this book, they have loved it, and I'm really excited because I feel like I can get into a slow fantasy if the politics is done well and believable and is like interesting enough. Like if the drama is there, then I don't care that it's slow. I like watching those catty bitches. The queen has just died and is left the land in turmoil and ruin, and her best friend is appointed into the position of the counselor, which is the position where they must try to figure out who murdered the queen and who should next be in line to be the next ruler. Now there's gonna be lots of court politics coming between everyone. They believe that magic might have been the thing that killed the queen, and I believe that according to the summary, magic is not allowed. Maybe it's some magic, I don't totally know. So our main character becomes stuck in this game of trying to figure out everything that's going on with the death of her best friend, and then also who should become the next ruler. And I'm so excited, my dudes. This is the first book in a series. Book 2 is not out. It doesn't even have any like expected day for it to come out. And so I don't know if this is going to be like a complete story that doesn't need a series to go along with it, or if it is going to have like a cliffhanger at the end. But I'm kind of hoping it's going to be a complete story and the sequel will just be like something else in the same world. Roll number 7, which might be our last roll as well, is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Buddy read. So I'm actually kind of excited that I got a double this month because I feel like 6 books is not hard for me to get through, but once you get to like 7 or 8, it's a lot more fun and a lot more of a challenge, but like in a good way for me to try to fit books where I need them to be. But I'm really excited to say that this role was buddy read, which is perfect because I think I have 4 buddy reads this month, and I decided to pick for this one In My Dreams I Hold a Knife, which is a dark academia thriller murder mystery about 6 friends who, when they were in college together, someone dies that's close to them, and then at one of their reunions, let's call it 10-year reunion, they come back together and they have to try to figure out who murdered that person. I'm really excited to be reading this. I'm doing a non-conventional buddy read for this book. So my friend and I both picked out thrillers that we were both interested in and that neither person had read yet. And we thought it would be really fun to annotate and leave notes in the thrillers, because both of them are kind of like murder mystery thrillers, to leave notes in them as to who we think done it while we're reading. So basically annotate all of our thoughts and like, that's suspicious, or like, here's what I'm thinking, and then swap books and get to read not only the other person's book, but everything they were thinking. So this is the book that I'll be reading for that, and then my friend will be reading her copy of a different book, and we'll be swapping, and hopefully I can fit that book into next month's TBR. So don't go anywhere yet. Now is my chance to explain the big book jar. So one of the things that I'll be doing with this jar is, like I said, fulfilling that 1 week a month where I am trying to read a really big book. When I'm doing this jar moving forward, what I'm going to say is that if I have a book over 600 pages on my TBR already, I don't have to pull from the jar, because 600 pages, that's already a lot to read. Normally, something like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell would totally count and I wouldn't have to pull from the jar. But since this is the first month doing it and I'm feeling really ambitious this month, I'm going to pull from the jar. The other thing I want to say about this jar is if I am on the board and I have 22 in 2022, after I finish up the cards and the pre-orders come in and everything, like I don't have books for them, I will be having secret TBRs, of course. If I get that roll again and I want to draw from this jar, I'm allowed to draw from this jar instead of pulling. I have the option to do either one, to be completely honest. I am just trying to leave it like up in there and open for whatever I'm feeling. As always, if I'm feeling really stressed that month, or if I'm really busy that month, or if I roll like 8 or more times and I have 8 or more books on my TBR, I'm gonna be ignoring the jar. But this month, it's the first one, and I am going to pull something from this jar. I have so many books in here. There were plenty of things that I wanted to read that were over. I should probably specify my rules to get books in here was they had to be over 480 pages. I decided to do that because I thought it would be nice to have a few in here that were a little bit shorter, but there's only like 2 that are under 500 pages, and almost all of them are actually over 600 pages. I know Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell's in here because this book is like over 1,000 pages, but I have some ARCs, I have some owned books, I have some audiobooks, I have some library books. It's a good mix. I'm trying to shuffle it up as best I can because the order was from biggest to smallest, so biggest was at the bottom. And I pulled one, and it is going to be On a Sunbeam, which is 533 pages, but that's actually not too bad because On a Sunbeam is a graphic novel. So getting through those 533 pages will not be a challenge at all. I know I put this book on the list because it had LGBTQ plus representation. I've had some people recommend it to me, say that it was a really good book that I should check out. It is a sci-fi book taking place in space. So as you guys know, I love space operas and I'm really excited to try books that are in space. And the description says, as a new member of the crew, Mia gets to know her team. The story flashbacks to her pivotal years in boarding school where she fell in love with a mysterious new student. Soon, though, Mia reveals her true purpose for joining the ship, to track down her long-lost love. An inventive world, a breathtaking love story, and a stunning art comes together in this new work by award-winning Tilly Walden. So I'm really excited to be reading that. I'm gonna have to check to see if my library has it. That's it. Those are the 8 books I am going to be reading this month. I only have 2 to hold up for you all, but I am quite excited. I feel like while I have 8 books on this list, it's not a bad 8, and I do think I can accomplish this, and I'm quite excited about all of them. Let me know down below how your TBR is looking for July. If you're curious, I haven't picked a week yet for Big Book Week, but I will be putting something in my community posts, and I think I'm gonna try to build some type of Goodreads group around it. So if you want to join Big Book Week, absolutely, I'm wanting people to read with me these chunkers of books. I will see you all on Monday. I don't remember how my outro goes, but until next time, I'll talk to you in the comments. Bye!